Because we are going to continue looking at this book, even though this is the end of the story. It finishes here. But the story is really not finished, because it isn't until it goes to you, to the reader, that then the story continues. How will you tell that story? And I'm going to show you here. You see there are some images, and this is an image of a book. Here is other books. These are different from the books that you see in here, because these are books that I found at the library. And you may recognize some of this. Maybe you've seen them at your public library or a library at your school. And maybe you were also as surprised as me and my son were when we saw these books, and maybe you even fallen in love with them. And perhaps you love those books so much that you want to make your own books. I felt like that. When I discovered picture books, I wanted to make books just like those. I didn't know how to make them. So I started learning. And I learned from looking at other people's books, but also by finding books that taught me how to do things. Like, for example, this picture here is of a book that I made, and I have it right here. It's this one. And this is the very first book I made. Of course, it's not a published book. It's a book I made because I wanted to make books just like the ones at the public library. So it's an old book. It's like, it must be about 25 years old. And you can see the cover is gone now. It just has the back cover. But what I did is I copied from the books that I saw at the library. I realized that books at the library have words. I only spoke Spanish, so I wrote my words in Spanish. So what I did is I copied. I saw that you can create a story with words, and you could also tell that story with drawings or paintings. Before I came to the United States, I always liked to draw. I loved to draw since I was a little girl, but I had never painted. And once I got here, I actually did I did one painting in a school, but I didn't know how to do it, and I actually got a really bad grade from my teacher. That's another story I can tell you some other time. But what happened is that I had really never experienced how it was like to make drawings and paint them with brushes and paints, and I had to learn. And the way I did it is I went to the art store and I bought myself my first set of these are like pastel crayons and different art materials, and I started to practice on my dining table, and just copying by seeing how other people made books. Then I made my own books. At the public library, there were also books that taught me how I could put those pages together. That's called binding. So I learned how to bind books, and you can bind books in many different ways. This one is made by gluing pages one with the other. Like I fold the piece of paper, like let's see this one. I'm not gonna fold it because this is my drawing, but what I will do is I fold it like this. I will fold it well, not like right now, but then I will take another piece of paper. I don't have enough here, but let's see, I will take another one. I'm going to try to do this without damaging my drawings, and then I put glue between these two and I put them like this, and so they attach together. So eventually you can make a book by attaching more and more pages like that. This book, I made it like that, and you can see here is the cover I made. I made this paper by following a recipe that I found in a book that you can make your own paper. So I made this paper by following instructions that says that you can take tissue paper, the one that you use like tissues, even the toilet paper, you can use it. And what you do is you put it inside a pot with water and you boil it. You boil it very, very well. And then you turn off the fire and you let it cool, and then you put it inside your blender. And then you turn on the blender, and then it goes through the spins and makes like a pulp. Now there is water in there, and you need to take the water off. So I use like a a piece of fabric so that then the water will drain off the fabric, but the paper pulp will be on it. And then I added things like glue, and I added something that is called linseed oil. And just doing all those things, I was able to create a paste, a pulp, that then I put on a flat surface, and then I just patted it and I made my own paper. Those things, I didn't know how to do them, but I learned them from a book that I found at the library. And for many books, then I start learning how to do things like making my books. Like at the end, even making a book just like Dreamers. We have many different ways of telling our stories. We also have different ways of making books. I make books by putting words and putting drawings together, but you can make your own book by maybe even putting spaces, empty spaces together. The emptiness also tells things. We have many ways to say things. If you have a pencil and you can grab it with your hands, you can draw and make drawings with your hands, but maybe you don't. And maybe you are going to use something different. Maybe you are going to use a different part of your body, or you are not going to use a pencil. You are going to use a piece of paper that you cut from a magazine, or even a crepe paper, like I did. You take pieces of crepe paper and you glue them on a page, and you make your own book, and you tell your own story in your very own way. And we are gonna be finishing, but I want to show you just a few more things about that you might find when you make your own reading of Dreamers. And let's see, I have, when my son and I were visiting the library, and this is many years ago, my son was just a baby. One of the things that he fell in love with were books about many things. One of them was firefighters, one of them was sharks, another one was baseball, basketball, and the space Apollo program. And he loved that so much that he wished that he could be an astronaut. So what I did at that time is I taught myself how to do things that he could wear so that he would look like an astronaut. And for instance, I made this for him, just imitating and copying from those movies, but also from books where we saw that the astronauts will wear something like this in their head. So I made one for my son, and I even made, I made a spacesuit for him. I made these pants. I painted them with paints that I found at the art store. Those were some of my first set of paints for fabric. Let's see. I made him this one so that he could look like those astronauts that he was seeing in the books that he saw and we found at the library. So you might find it here that when the mama is, like, they had brought all these books from the library and they are reading them and learning from them, and mom is also making, just like I did, inspired in the astronaut books, something so that this baby who is growing up can continue dreaming about the things that he wants to be. But not only about the things that he wants to be one day, but also about the things that he already is, because he is already so much. Like you are already so much. Someday, yes, you are going to become something more than you are, or something different than you are right now. But it's not that you are not already enough now. You are more than enough. You are already perfect. Every child, and especially children who have come from places where now they are here in the United States, or they are in a place where they weren't born, and sometimes they feel like, oh my, if you feel like I did, maybe you feel like, ooh, I don't know if I should be here. I'm gonna tell you something. You should all be here. You are all welcome. Actually, we have been waiting for you, because all of you come full with presents, with regalos, and you are more than enough. You don't have to become nothing else that you are not already. Perhaps you are a storyteller. Perhaps you are someone who likes to create and make drawings. You speak more than one language, or maybe 1 or 3 or 4, but you also have stories in you, and you have hopes, and you have so many things. You have brought so many gifts with you. We can hardly wait to see what are those gifts that you have brought. We all have gifts with us. And I put some gifts here in this backpack because I learned that when you come to a place, you always bring with you all what you are, and all of those things are marvelous. They are gifts that we are all gonna enjoy. And I put here some of the gifts that I, for instance, have learned that I brought with me. When I came to the United States, I thought I had brought nothing. I thought, oh, I didn't even bring regalitos for the family who was gonna welcome me here. I thought I didn't bring anything. I thought the only thing I had was like my suitcase, I had some clothes in there, and I had my baby with me. I was already an adult. I was not a child like many of you. And yet, I still felt like I didn't know if I was gonna be welcome because maybe I didn't bring enough with me. What I know now is I brought more than plenty. You also bring more than plenty. You bring so many things, and some of the things that I know now that I brought when I came with my baby with me were things like I brought the memory of the flowers and the clouds and the rain that is here where I was born. Right now, you are seeing me. I'm here in my studio in the city of Jalapa in Mexico. I was born in this city. I lived in the United States for many years, and I was an immigrant. I am still an immigrant because my home now is in many places. My home is the United States. My home is also this place where I was born, and I travel constantly, kind of just like the monarch butterflies, kind of just like the swallows, the barnyard swallows, who are also migrant animals, and also like the free-tailed bats, who are also animals that migrate, that are born in one place and go to another one, and then they come back. I do that too. I was born here in Jalapa, but I go to the United States where I have lived, and I'm a citizen there, and then I come back here to Mexico once more, and I'm constantly going from one place to another. I am a constant immigrant. Many parents work very hard for them, like the animals, like the bats. Not all bats migrate, but the free-tailed bats migrate, and they come from Mexico and sometimes from South America, and they go to the United States. They have their babies there. They go to places like Austin. Have you been to Austin, when there is a bridge, and then inside the bridge, underneath the bridge, the bats are roosting, and they have their babies there. They don't stay there all year. They come back to Mexico and South America. They are always going back and forth. And the reason why they go to places like Austin is so that they can have their babies there. Their babies are born there, and they know that they can thrive and they can be fine. They will have food for them. They will feed them. They will take care of them very, very much. Families and parents do that for their children. They go to the right places where the babies and the children can go to school, where they can have a job and they can work for them, and they can give them all the safety and all the love that they deserve. Animals, humans, we do that. And we bring our gifts with us. Animals do too. I know that I brought gifts with me. I brought, for example, I brought my heart, and I brought my intuition, my unique way of seeing things. I brought my stories. I'm represented in this dog-like animal, which here in Mexico is a symbolism, at least for me also, but for many Mexicans too, of companionship both in life and in death. Because here it is believed that when you die, your dog will accompany you, so that you together can get to the ultimate place in the Mictlán. Also, I brought with me my joy for life and humor and smiles. I brought with me my emotions, this passion that I feel for things, and also when I feel sad, when I feel happy, and just how it's so powerful. I brought that with me, and I put it here symbolized by a volcano. So I didn't make a drawing of my emotions because I wouldn't know how to draw that. But what I did, I used a symbol. I used a picture of something different that means my emotions. So I put this volcano to mean my emotions. But I also know that I brought ways of learning how to heal and the wisdom of my ancestors. I also know I brought my talents. Like, for instance, I love drawing. I like to draw. I've been doing it for a long time. And I brought it with me. I carried it in my backpack. Even I didn't know, I didn't realize it. I also brought the stars and the moons, and I brought the sun with me. I brought all of those things. And yes, they are all symbols. I didn't know when I came to the United States that I already had anything I needed to be a creative person, to be a person who gives. We do give who we are. I didn't know it. I thought I didn't have enough when I came, but no, I have more than enough.